Hello and welcome to another video, and this is going to be my end of the year video for the channel. We're coming up in the what are we? We're about 10 days into December at the time of recording this, and it's time for me to take that holiday break that I take every year to spend time with friends and family. And I personally, myself, I will be back with regular content, starting with my Game of the Year content at the very end of January. I always take this time just to have time with friends and family. You know, between that, working my full-time job and everything, it works out this way very well. It also gives me time to catch up on games that maybe I haven't had a chance to check out, but now have time to check out. Cough, cough, Baldur's Gate 3 being one of them. So, which, you know, for all intents and purposes, probably will be in my top 10. I'd be surprised if I don't like that game. So, but I will say, you know, as recording, I actually do have the game now. I have not even started it. This video isn't about that, though. This video is about, you know, basically a wrap up of this year and what to expect next year when I return. This will be now, I think, when I was sitting down and doing kind of the math here, this will be what, the seventh year of the channel. I believe my math is correct there. This will be the 7th year of Marble Gallery. Obviously things have changed incredibly over 7 years, and one of the biggest changes obviously in the last 7 years is having a full-time podcast now with my friends that we put on the channel once every 2 weeks. As far as podcast 572 goes, that is continuing. We will be taking a break. It will not be as long as my break from the channel. So yes, you won't see regular new full-length videos from me until end of January. But you will see there will be probably 2 episodes of Podcast 572 between this video and the next regular video, which will be Game of the Year content. So you're going to see our end of the year podcast episode, which will be out in the next week or so, which will be episode 51. I cannot believe we just celebrated episode 50. If you haven't listened to that one yet, please, you know, go take a listen to it. We actually were able to bring back original third chair Eric. He came on and talked to us about his purchase of the PlayStation Portal and why he bought that and why it's a good fit for him. So, which is a very interesting conversation, to say the least. Highly encourage you to check out episode 50 of the podcast, which is now available on the channel, now available on all podcast platforms. As far as the podcast goes, we will have that episode. We will return mid-January. So we're only taking about a month off. So it's really like one episode off. It's not very long, but again, we all have families, we all have responsibilities, and it's the holidays. So as far as Podcast 572 goes, there may be some changes coming to Podcast 572 in 2024 and the YouTube channel. I have not iron these out yet with my co-hosts. In fact, we haven't even really discussed this yet. So we will be talking about this stuff behind the scenes, and we'll see. But in an effort to grow the podcast a little bit more, I am going to be looking into doing clips. I would like to do clips. You see a lot of podcasts that kind of the bread and butter of podcasts today is having separate clips of different conversations in a podcast, especially when you do a podcast that is, you know, 2.5 to 3 hours long on average, which it seems like we've kind of hit that 2 to 2.5 hour mark is kind of like where we're at with our podcast, which I'm perfectly fine with. I think it's a good way to grow a podcast. And so with that being said, that also brings into light, if we're going to do that, then are we on camera then? And that's a conversation we need to have, so which we have not had that conversation yet. So we'll be talking about that. I have no plans or dates or anything like that for when that would even happen. We're not going to be doing the podcast live. That is one thing I will tell you straight up, that will not happen. Just given everybody's situation, it just does not work. So the podcast is never going to be live, but we are going to talk about maybe going forward being on camera. The only thing that kind of I hesitate on that is it's a lot more work on my end. You know, now I'm not just editing an audio file every 2 weeks. I'm now editing a 2.5 to 3 hour video. And which, you know, brings me to something else that I'll mention in just a minute, but that's going to require a little bit probably better video card than what I currently have. So I am also looking to upgrade my video card. Probably, I would say, March, April-ish. I've had this video card pre-building this computer that I currently run. It's a 2070. It's definitely outdated. It's gotten to the point when you get to the point where your video card goes from being the recommended video card to the minimum required video card, it's time to upgrade. I knew that when I built this computer a couple years ago. I kind of skimped on that on purpose to do it later. So I will be looking at that. Not that I play a lot of games on PC, but I do obviously do heavy video editing, so that is definitely a requirement. So I'll be looking at that at some point, especially if I'm looking at editing a 3-hour video. You know, like that's we're getting somewhere. That being said, other things about the channel, shorts are going to continue. I've had a lot of fun doing 60-second movie reviews. I am taking a break, so to say, from the channel for the holidays. Do not be surprised if you see a couple movie reviews pop up as 60-second shorts. It's really easy for me to pop here in the office, do that, you know, post it really quick. You know, just very basic thoughts on a movie that I just watched, and I have a lot of fun doing that, and it's definitely grown the channel quite a bit this year. In fact, just me doing, I think I've done maybe 20 shorts total, has grown me more subscriber wise in the last like 6 months than last 2 years of this channel. Not that I'm like, again, looking here to make this my day job or anything like that. I just do this for fun, but at some point you got to look at it and go, okay, you kind of maybe want to grow the channel a little bit. And so that's been very beneficial, and I will continue that as well. So look for a couple of those to pop up. I will say straight up, I don't know if I'm going to be seeing Aquaman in the theater or not yet. It's more has to do with when that movie comes out and plans with family and stuff. I just don't know if it's feasible for me to be able to get to the theater to see that or not. I personally would like to see Aquaman too, just because I've seen every other DC movie in the theater at this point. I kind of want to end the journey. So I don't know. If I do, I'll do a 60-second review of it and share my thoughts. But you'll be seeing some other stuff. Like I still have to watch Oppenheimer. I still have to watch Killers of the Flower Moon. I have these epic movies that are sitting here that I'm definitely going to have time over the holidays to sit and finally watch. So I'll be looking for some 60-second reviews on that. As far as the channel goes and reviews, I'm happy with how I've been doing things. I'm going to continue to do it this way, where I'm going to be doing first impressions. If it's a game that I get through very quickly, or I feel like I have more to say on it other than, you know, end of the year stuff, then I will do a review on it. Very good case in point was Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2, as you guys know, is my game of the year. Like spoiler for game of the year content, it will be my game of the year. I had a lot to say about that game, and that doesn't happen every day. So that was a truly special game and a special experience, I feel. But going forward, I'm going to continue the first impressions and kind of do it case by case, because that's what I feel is best for the channel and best for me in terms of my mental stability, and just overall like what I have time for now versus, you know, 7 years ago when I had much more free time than I do now. So we're going to continue that with first impressions, you know, maybe review here and there. So at the beginning of the year, I'm getting hit right off the bat with 3 huge games each month. You know, January you have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is supposed to be the biggest of those ever. February, I have end of February, I have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which right now is probably my most anticipated game of next year so far that we know of. Cannot wait for that. It just looks incredible. And then now in March, we have Dragon's Dogma 2. And there's no way I could sit here and do a review of all 3 of those games unless it was my full-time job, and it's not. So, but you better believe I'll do first impressions of those. And you will see that content and stuff on the channel for sure. Other than that, man, only little other thing that I will say is, as you can see behind me, the room is even more of a mess, this office, than it normally is. I am in the process over here on this side, which you guys cannot see. You can kind of see some boxes and stuff like right there. Those are 2 really cool cubby hole things that we're in this house. One of the selling points when my girlfriend and I bought this house was this office and how cool it looked. We're finally getting around to putting shelves in there, so I'll be able to actually display my collection and stuff, and it's gonna look a lot nicer. So that is one thing I can promise, in the new year, is this room's gonna look a lot nicer than it does right now. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if these 2 shelves behind me that have all these collectibles looks completely different when we're all said and done, because a lot of that stuff is probably going to be moved into the shelves that we're putting up in those 2 cubby holes over there. So I'm really excited to show that stuff off when it's done. So yeah, as far as things go, next year, expect me to return end of January with new content. Expect Podcast 572 to have 1 more episode in the next week here or so. And then we'll return mid-January. I think it's like January 13th. We'll return with a new episode, and we'll be on our regular schedule for the year. And that's it. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the content this year, the 60-second movie reviews, the podcast. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time.